Thank you so much, Renato. Thank you to Elizabeth Nigeban and to DNB staff for inviting me to share with you our experience about structured data, about authority data. We led at the BNF to move, I would say, from the old library to the new library data. No. So, the key question is how to move from records to entity, or how to move from authority records to an entity-based approach. And I would like that we have three sub-questions. The first one is, what do entities consist in? Entities represent a broader approach than authority records, which is designed to answer the FRBR or LRM, Library Reference Model, user's task to find, to select, to choose, to identify resources. The second question is how to implement this approach. At BNF, we have chosen to go step by step, being based on what we have concretely in our catalog, and move forward step by step to entities by implementing several projects. And the third question is, what is the librarian's role in this context, and how to reconcile automatic workflow and the librarian's expertise. So in our catalog, we have bibliographic records and authority records. For instance, authority records for persons and for works. And these records are based on persistent identifiers. At the BNF, we have implemented the ARC protocol for persistent identifiers, and we have also links and codes for roles. So this is why we could say that we have in our catalog some kind of vintage link data, because we have links between authority records and bibliographic records as far as BNF is concerned since 1987, and we could say that we have structured data since the beginning of the library's history in the 14th century. And we have also trusted identifiers. But we have, and this is maybe the most important, we have catalogers and we have a catalog quality team to assure consistency by rules, by cataloging rules, by working formats, and data and links to curation. So to move to an entity-based approach, BNF has chosen to begin with data dissemination and not by data production. Because in 2011 or 2012, the landscape for standardization or cataloging tools associated to these cataloging rules, new rules like RDA, for instance, was not stabilized. So we have chosen to begin with implementing FRBR for data dissemination to make our data more visible and more usable in the web. This is why we have launched the data.bnf.fr project to meet this goal. This project is still going on today, and next year, for instance, we will implement a new design for web pages, and we are maintaining the vanguard role, I would say, by creating a new kind of entity for places next year in data.bnf.fr project. And this project is allows us to implement link open data, and the data are available in CC BY license. So data.bnf.fr aims at merging data coming from our different catalogs and from our digital libraries, and also remodeling data by implementing a further conceptual model and adding to data new alignments with external repositories such as Wikidata, Library of Congress, and also GND. And we are maintaining two ways of publication, web pages for human and structured data in RDF for machines. The second step is to use tools for aligning data we have in data.bnf.fr to create new links and new entities, first in data.bnf.fr, and then to reinject them in our catalogs. For instance, we are using data.bnf.fr aligning tools to create new links between bibliographic records and uniform titles authority records, because our cataloging rules say that we have to create links between bibliographic records and uniform titles only for works as subject access. But we have to create links between authority records for titles and bibliographic records for the edition of the work themselves. And this is another problem, another question. And we are using data.bnf.fr tools to do it. Last year, we have implemented 300,000 new links between authority record and bibliographic record, and so we have begun to move from a data based on dichotomy between authority records and bibliographic records to a model based on a work and manifestation approach. The second step of this work is to create not only new links, but also new entities, new works. And we are testing this year this process with a first scope, which are the French authors from the 20th century, and to create new authority records for works for these authors and links with bibliographic records. To do it, we are extracting data from bibliographic records, such as different forms of titles, I mean title of the manifestation itself, or original titles, or other titles we can find in bibliographic records, and also creation date languages. And we are using a data boat we have developed within the data.bnf.fr project, but we use this tool for enriching data in catalogs themselves. So, and this process is totally controlled by data experts, by catalogers, who have corrected rules and checked the process step by step. So in the beginning of the next year, we will be able to see new pages for works with a red banner, as it is here, for these new works. And we are expecting to have more than 1 million of new works. And then librarians, data experts, will check and analyze these results before rejecting these new works into our authority file, into our catalog. So the question is to associate manual work led by librarians and automatic process. And the question is, where is the librarian's expertise the most useful? Another example of association between librarians' expertise and automatic workflow, data workflow, regards the implementation of ISNI, International Identifier for Persons and Organizations, at the National Library of France. The idea is to use this international identifier as a tool to partly automatize processes of creation of new authority record for persons, especially for new authors whose books are coming to library by legal deposit. And we are developing new data flows with publishers who use Onyx, which represents in France 15% of the whole legal deposit by a year. And the idea is to use this Onyx data and to map it with our MARC format and to create provisional authority records for new authors. And the main question is to check that these new records does not create duplicate with authority record we have already in our catalog. So this is the most complicated step, and we are working hard about this point. But the idea is to create provisional authority records and to send them to ISNI, to attribute new ISNI, and to have a way back to our catalogs and to publishers. So it's some kind of win-win agreement with publishers. Publishers give us their data, and in return, we give them ISNI. And the next step to reach our goal to create entities is to develop a national entity file. And for this, we are very interested in your experiences you have in Germany about GND. We have in France a very special landscape, as usually in France. The problem is we have two national bibliographic agencies. The National Library, of course, and we have also another bibliographic agency, which is the Higher Education Bibliographic Agency, and each of them send its data to a different community. We send, as far as BNF is concerned, National Library is concerned, we send our data to public libraries and, broadly speaking, to cultural heritage domain. And the Higher Education Bibliographic Agency maintains a union catalog for academic libraries with its own authority file. But we share both common challenges, which are the common challenges for library catalogs and data. And to face these challenges, we are jointly leading the so-called Bibliographic Transition National Program. This program is twofold. This program has two branches. The first branch is to implement new cataloging rules. And the second branch is to develop new tools which enables new cataloging rules to be used. And there is even a third branch, which is training. Also a very important point. Regarding cataloging rules, we are publishing step by step in France new rules called RDA FR, which is not an adoption of RDA, but an adaptation of RDA. The question is how to adapt RDA to the French bibliographic landscape. But we are eager to have a direct application of conceptual model published by IFLA, especially the new library reference model. And we are waiting for the new edition of RDA next year to investigate it and to decide what will be the next direction for the French new rules regarding the new RDA edition. But the question is which tool we can use to implement these cataloging rules. So in the meantime, we have launched in French the project of a national entity file, FNE, with a French acronym. And the FNE has three main principles. The first principle is to develop a common database to produce entities, for instance, for works, persons, organization, concepts, place, events. The second idea is to use database as to use Wikibase as infrastructure base for building this tool. And the third idea is that each future member of the national entity file keeps its own tools with its own working format. The idea is to associate core entities produced within the national entity file and local needs. So you can see here, as it is imagined today, the local producers, BNF, with a new production tool for produce data we are developing, which is called Noemi, and maybe associated with a new flavor of mark, the next generation mark, to apply LOM conceptual model. You can see also ABES, Bibliographic Agency for Higher Education, and other libraries as public libraries, and also other cultural heritage actors as archives and museums, which are already interested in joining FNE. So this is how we imagine today the FNE layer with data production, with a data model in line with LOM conceptual model, or with no contradiction with LOM conceptual model. The question is, should we have a working common working format? And actually to maintain a query interface and query API to import and export data from and to producers, local producers. And the question is which technical infrastructure we can use to do this. And we have chosen to use Wikibase as a technical infrastructure and technical tool to build the national entity file. So this is a schedule in principle. We are beginning to work on a proof of concept using Wikibase infrastructure, and this work will go on until the end of 2019. And in the meantime, we have to think about governance and business model. And at the end of 2019, the strategical bodies of the Bibliographic Transition National Programme will decide whether the proof of concept can be developed or not to develop the real national entity file with other actors and players. And so, from 2020 onwards, we will develop the national entity file to hope it will be open around 2022-2023. So this is our main question we have to answer next year, by the end of this or the next year. To what extent Wikibase can be used as a technical infrastructure for national entity file? How far Wikibase can meet the national entity file operational needs? And we have also other questions about merging, not only aligning, but merging data coming from National Library and coming from the Higher Education Bibliographic Agency. How does it work in a national-wide co-production environment? How can we ensure the data model compatibility? And what about quality control? And what about users' profiles? So it's a very important question, but we hope we can do it and to answer these questions by the end of this year, of the next year. Thank you very much.